Multiple run-ins with the law, contract negotiation troubles, and the untimely death of his eldest son. Scottie Pippen has seen a lot of tragedy in his life. Keep watching to learn it all. Pippen was born Scottie Maurice Pippen on September 25, 1965 in Hamburg, Arkansas. He was the youngest of 12 children to his father, Preston, a paper mill factory worker, and his mother, Ethel. His childhood home was a two-room house, and the town he lived in had a population of only about 3,500 people. Both his parents were tall, and while Pippen would eventually become the tallest member in his family, during his adolescent and teenage years, he was still the runt of the litter on the basketball court where he and his siblings spent their days. During Scottie's freshman year at Hamburg High School, his father suffered a stroke that placed him in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. The Pippen family were struggling financially before the stroke, and they couldn't afford to send any of their kids to college. It seemed like Scottie's only shot at higher learning would be via an athletic scholarship, so he threw himself into sports. When entering high school, Scottie Pippen stood barely over 6 feet and weighed around 135 pounds. Soon after his father's stroke, his older brother Ronnie became wheelchair-bound as well from an accident. A fear of injury haunted Pippen, which was clear when he told Chicago Tribune sports writer Sam Smith, "I've always thought that one injury could wipe all of this away. I'm able to run and jump and do all the things I can do. I'm blessed. We're all blessed in the NBA. But I'd see my brother, a healthy, strong young man, and all of a sudden he's confined to a wheelchair, to where he can't get around. I think about that a lot." Pippen made the varsity team as a sophomore, but he would spend the next 2 years fighting for playing time. It wasn't until his senior year that he finally made the starting lineup as the point guard. He led his team to the regionals, but he couldn't drum up interest from any college. Fortunately, his high school coach called in a favor to a friend, University of Central Arkansas coach Don Dyer. Pippen was then offered a basic education opportunity grant and joined the basketball team. He was officially listed as the team manager, although he's admitted that he didn't do much in that capacity. Although Scottie Pippen was in school and part of the basketball program at Central Arkansas, he wasn't technically on the team at first. Coach Dyer felt that the freshman needed to build up his upper body and planned to keep him around as the team manager for his first year. But after multiple players left the team, Pippen took advantage of the open spots. He ended up joining the team as a player when he was a freshman and averaged 4.3 points per game. Remarkably, the 6'1" Pippen grew 5 inches before his sophomore season.
I guess what you call late development.
Pippen also began to develop his upper body strength, as Coach Dyer had instructed. Combining his new body with his experience as a ball handler and distributor during his time as the point guard, Pippen became the best player on the roster his sophomore year, averaging 18.5 points and 9.2 rebounds per game. His numbers only grew in his next 2 years, as did his height to a 6'8" frame. Entering the 1987 NBA draft, the Chicago Bulls saw Pippen as a talented prospect, but feared he would be gone by the time they picked with the 8th selection. Bulls general manager Jerry Krause was in the process of building a team with players who could complement their young superstar, Michael Jordan. So they had the Seattle Supersonics agree to draft Pippen at number 5 and then trade him to Chicago for the Bulls' number 8 pick and multiple other draft picks over the next 2 seasons. In 1987, Scottie Pippen and his girlfriend Karen McCollum had their first child, a boy named Antron, and then they got married the following year. But their marriage lasted only 2 years and ended in divorce in 1990. At the same time, Pippen was involved with another woman, who sued him in 2019 for the maximum amount in small claims court for expenses that she incurred during their relationship between 1987 and 1993. According to the other woman, she didn't become aware of Pippen's wife and child until Valentine's Day in 1988 when he told her while they were together in bed. One time, she found baby items in his house, and he told her that it was for his sister's kid. Also, according to this girlfriend, while she was with Pippen, she paid for hotels, gas, and other expenses, while he never did, despite earning millions while playing in the NBA. When he joined the Chicago Bulls, Scottie Pippen was the perfect complement to Michael Jordan. Those two superstars, along with power forward Horace Grant, formed the foundation for their championship teams in the early 90s. By his third year with the Bulls, Pippen made his first All-Star team, and Chicago promoted assistant coach Phil Jackson to head coach. By this time, the Bulls squad routinely found themselves in the postseason. However, they were eliminated by their rival Detroit Pistons for 3 straight years. The Bad Boy Pistons were known for their aggressive style of defense, which often left Jordan and Pippen bruised on the court. Detroit was led by point guard Isaiah Thomas and Hall of Fame coach Chuck Daly. The Bulls fell to Detroit in the 1988 and 89 playoffs, and then in 1990, with the recent death of his father in the back of Pippen's mind, he and Jordan led the Bulls to another best-of-7 series against the Pistons. In that decisive final game, Pippen struggled with a migraine headache and a losing effort. The so-called migraine game led many to question Pippen's toughness and dedication to winning a championship. In 1991, Pippen and the Bulls finally broke the Pistons' stranglehold on the Eastern Conference in a 4-game sweep and found themselves in the NBA Finals against the Magic Johnson-led Los Angeles Lakers. After losing the first game in Chicago, Pippen ended up guarding Johnson, desperate to slow down the Lakers' offense and tempo. Pippen's size and speed matched up well against Johnson, possibly the biggest point guard in the league at 6 feet 9 inches and 215 pounds. The strategy proved to be effective, as Pippen limited the offensive efficiency of Johnson and the entire Lakers squad. With Pippen manning the defensive front and Michael Jordan free to score, the Bulls won 4 straight games and their first of 6 championships in the decade. With his contract expiring, Pippen decided that his next one would be longer than the 4-year deal he started out with when he entered the league. In order to ensure his family's future and protect himself from injuries, he signed a 5-year, $18 million deal 2 weeks after the championship. That decision would haunt him the rest of the decade. On the basketball court, the next 2 years would be some of the best of Scottie Pippen's life. In 1992 and 1993, the Bulls won 2 more championships. And following the 1992 NBA season, Pippen was a member of the gold medal-winning Dream Team, the first American Olympic basketball squad to feature professional players. But after the 1993 season, the Bulls were shocked when Michael Jordan retired to play baseball. That left Pippen as the team's clear top player, but they struggled to make it back to the finals while Jordan was away. Pippen then struggled in his personal life between 1994 and 1995, as he was arrested twice in a year and a half on charges of gun possession that were eventually dropped, as well as battery. His fiancée at the time alleged that he'd grabbed and pushed her in their home. Also during this period, she and another woman took Pippen to court to force him to pay alimony and recognize 2 of his children. On the court, Michael Jordan eventually returned to the Bulls, and Dennis Rodman joined the team after the departure of Horace Grant. In their first season together in 1996, the Bulls set a record with 72 regular season victories and won their first championship since 1993. And that summer, Pippen won his 2nd Olympic gold medal. The Bulls won 2 more titles in 1997 and 1998, completing their 2nd three-peat of the decade and cementing themselves as one of the greatest teams in sports history. The contract that Pippen signed back in 1991 eventually came back to bite him. A year after signing it, he was the 2nd highest paid player on the Bulls and the 16th highest paid in the league. But by 1998, despite still being the clear number 2 player on the team, he was now the 6th highest paid player on the team and the 122nd highest paid in the league. Bulls management had refused to renegotiate the contract despite Pippen voicing disapproval throughout the decade. He even went so far as saying publicly that he wouldn't play for the Bulls while recovering from a foot injury prior to the 1997 to 1998 season. His name was also constantly in trade rumors throughout the 90s. Pippen eventually made sure that he was finally compensated for what he felt he deserved. On January 22, 1999, he and the Bulls agreed to a sign-and-trade deal with the Houston Rockets, as he signed a 5-year, $67.2 million deal with the Bulls and then immediately headed to Houston.
I want to go out and reestablish my dominance back on the court.
In his 1 season with the Rockets, Pippen struggled to adjust to the new system alongside veteran teammates Hakeem Olajuwon and Charles Barkley.
Charles was a bully.
Pippen also feuded with Barkley and was arrested on suspicion of DUI in the winter. Statistically, his shooting percentage was the worst in his career. The Rockets were knocked out of the postseason in the first round by the Los Angeles Lakers, led by Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant. Tiring of Barkley and feeling that the team was no longer good enough for a championship run, Pippen demanded a trade from Houston. So, before the 1999-2000 season, He was sent to the Portland Trail Blazers. In his first season there, the Blazers were on the precipice of making the NBA Finals, but blew a big lead in the final minutes of the fourth quarter against the Lakers, again led by Shaq and Kobe, plus former Bulls coach Phil Jackson in his first season with LA. The Lakers would win their first of 3 straight championships, while Pippen wouldn't ever again get that close to a finals victory for the rest of his career. In 2003, Scottie Pippen signed a contract to return to Chicago, but he ultimately retired at the end of the season. He went on to work as a commentator on ESPN's The Jump, and then in 2014, his financial advisor was sentenced to 3 years in prison for multiple counts of bank fraud. Pippen had invested around $20 million with the advisor, but he was only able to recoup $8 million. 7 years later, an even worse personal tragedy struck when his eldest child, Antron, died at the age of 33 on April 18, 2021. Antron had suffered from chronic asthma throughout his life, though a cause of the death was not reported at the time. Pippen memorialized his son on Instagram, writing, "Antron suffered from chronic asthma, and if he hadn't had it, I truly believe he would have made it to the NBA. He never let that get him down, though. Antron stayed positive and worked hard, and I am so proud of the man that he became." The highest basketball level that Antron made it to was the World Basketball Association, a semi-professional league that folded in 2013. Antron is the only child from his father's first marriage to Karen McCollum. He's survived by his 6 half-siblings,